So we now look forward to more Porsches which make their way onto the circuit. This is the 911 Challenge with the Boxster Cup as well. So this is going to be another great race to look forward to. 25 minutes of racing on the cards as the cars now start to make their way onto the grid, being lined up, looking magnificent as ever. And yeah, 25 minutes with possibly some rain, possibly not, who knows. It's been one of those days so far, on and off, but I'm sure the drivers will be able to handle this very well indeed. So we've had a few races so far this year for the 911 Challenge and the Porsche Classic Boxster Cup. Of course, we've got the championship to look at for the Class 3, which is of course the Boxsters, and it's Mike Thompson who comes here as your championship leader, 125 points. He's just 9 clear of Darren Lebet, who has been a winner so far this year. Mike Thompson has not, but his consistency has been right towards the top of the championship, which in most cases that's all it's about, is the consistency. So he's done well. So Darren Lebet second in the championship. Darren King is third on 112 points, and just 6 points back from that is Peter Evans. So very closely fought championship so far this year. Plenty of racing still to go, but it's the next 2 races here at Snetterton on the 300 circuit, and I'm delighted to say Paul Jerd has made the cross across the track to back here in the commentary box, and you can hopefully update us on anything that's happened this morning.
Oh dear, I feel like I barely left the box from there. There was a shorter gap between the 2 races than I thought. Yeah, no, obviously a lot of delight with Sarah Thompson's crew for Sarah taking her first ever pole position. And now there are spots of rain falling, but I know that some people, Sarah in particular, they've taken a bit of a flyer and put a full dry setup on that car.
Okay.
So that car is set nice and stiff, hoping that it is going to stay dry. These cars are actually on treaded Pirellis, so in theory they're not as much of a handicap as they might be with, say, the slick runners from the Porsche Club Championship. But even so, sometimes in the wet you do like to soften the car up, put a bit more roll into it, just to make the car actually cope with those conditions a bit better. So we've got the 4 cars at the front, which are the 911 Challenge. So if you like, they're off in their own race. But then we've got these very, very closely matched and identically spec'd Boxsters that are sat just behind them. And that's really, I think, where a lot of the very, very close action is going to come from, because they've been absolutely spectacular so far this season. We've had 4 different race winners. Each person has been it's been their first ever race win, which is always very, very nice to have. So you know, it is a series really aimed at providing a route in. We do try and control as much of the costs. You know, no form of motorsport is cheap, but we do try and ensure that you're not spending money you don't really have to, for example. So there's quite strict regulations on tyres and tyre usage across the season. So you're going to get several races out of a set of tyres. There's no throwing new tyres at it every time. So yeah, fingers crossed. So just looking at the pictures now, we've got the silver and black car of Darren King weaving. Darren actually got out late in that last session. They couldn't get the car started. They went through everything and then found out the pipe wasn't on the fuel pump properly.
Oh, okay.
Darren said, I touched it. It went click, and I went, ah. And yeah, he was frantically then throwing his overalls on, throwing his crash helmet on. So he joined the qualifying session quite late, and this is actually Darren's first season of racing. And so far he's actually somehow managed to lead every race, and even got the victory at Brands Hatch. Admittedly, that was in a race that was reduced to 2 laps because we had a major incident for Vikram Sudera. And Vikram is back with us today for the first time since, out in a brand new car that actually Darren's company, Unique Porsche, have built up for him. So let's hoping that Vikram has an uneventful race. And he's twice set fastest lap actually, Vikram, so certainly no slouch in that Boxster of his.
Indeed, so the 911 Challenge cars are off quite quickly on this formation lap. It's quite a strung out formation lap as it stands, but they'll get back to us very shortly. Let's run you through how the grid lines up then for this first race for them today. It's Rob Hollyman who finds himself on pole. Did that by quite a few seconds this morning, so it's going to be interesting, the race between him and Tim Bates on that front row. Row 2 then sees the car which is going to be driven this time round by James Neal. So he's in car number 11, and alongside him is number 44, which is Stuart Jeffcoate. So that's the second row. Sarah Thompson heads up class 3, so a great job Sarah did this morning to take pole position. Let's see how she fares in this 25-minute race with Peter Evans alongside. Row 4 then sees Wayne Gregory with Darren King alongside. Then back to row 5, it's going to be Eric Bridges and Mike Thompson for company. Then we see row 6, where you'll find Darren Lebet and Vikram Sudera. So they're there on row number 6. Row 7 is Graham Hurd and Perry Darlin. The 8th row is going to be Shiraz Khan and Simon Ruffle Ward. The 9th row is Steve Shaw and Faye Noble Evans, and the final place on the grid should be taken by Michael O'Sullivan in the number 31 machine. So that's how they all line up for that first race of the day. But we're looking forward to this. Tim Bates, in terms of the 911 Challenge, has had it his own way so far this year. We've only had 2 races for the 911 Challenge, but there's a new man on the block this weekend, and Rob Hollyman's put it right there on pole.
He has, and Rob Hollyman actually went very, very quick here in that car last year. It's one of these cars, and Tim Bates is in the same situation where Rob's been racing that same car in a variety of series for a number of years and slowly developed it, changed it year by year, added this year, that next year, and it's turned into, well, as he says, the engine's got all the right bits, and it's a supremely sorted car that Rob is very, very confident in, and he's usually very good at getting it off the line, so we need to keep an eye on that.
We sure do. Look at that magnificent front row, isn't it? These cars look absolutely magnificent. Rob Hollyman there in the 964, Tim Bates alongside in the 911, and they do the championship and the series justice, because of course they're not racing for points, they're just there for some race victories, aren't they? But class 3, of course,
and to enjoy some very, very nice cars.
Yes, we love it indeed. So there we go, the first few rows are in place. The class 3 machines from the Porsche Boxster S's are also into position, and in fact the last row is now complete as well, which is good to see. So we are almost ready to go. The new 5-second board, which is now on the gantry, is up there ready for the drivers to see, and they've all judged that far too wrong, because they need to wait for the red lights, don't they? That's what we need. There they are. Back into position go those cars which are out of position, and away we go now. So off we go. There's going to be a few positions and a few people out where they shouldn't be, and a few slow starters towards the back. But we're underway, which is good. Rob Hollyman gets his car off the line. Not as good as the number 12 machine, which is there alongside him. So Tim Bates has done a grand job, but it's going to be fast and furious on these first opening laps as Tim Bates goes into the lead. Just wondering where Rob is. He's second, so he hasn't lost too much, but Tim Bates start much better than Rob Hollyman as they work their way in towards the Wilson hairpin for the first time. I think the rest of the 911 cars are still there as well, so the likes of James Neal is in position, and Stuart Jeffcoate should be up there somewhere as well before too much longer. But this could be an early indication of what we're going to get over this 25-minute race. Tim Bates leads Rob Hollyman down through Palmer for the first time.
It is. I'm always doubting my eyes, because I think it's Darren King leading the Boxsters, in which case he's made the start of the season to get up to there from where he was on the grid. I know Sarah on pole was slightly slow away, but yep, that certainly does look like Darren King leading Pete Evans, Mike Thompson and Sarah Thompson. Yeah,
Sarah dropped a couple of positions, didn't she? So not the best of starts, but as I said, we've got 25 minutes to try and work our way through. 3 wide into the corner there. They all just about make it through, which is good. And then towards the rear there, bringing up the last few runners, Shiraz Khan in car number 15 as they work their way down towards Hamilton for the first time. But this is going to be a good race here. Tim Bates now leads Rob Hollyman by a couple of car lengths, not by much. So let's see if Rob Hollyman can get into his stride, try and close this gap down, give Tim Bates a little bit of a run for his money, which he has had on one occasion this year. I think James Neal was quite close, wasn't he, at the round at Donington, but the second race was a much more distant gap between the top 2. But the minute, there's nothing to choose between them as they head on the bridge. This is close further back. I think that's Sarah Thompson.
Sarah Thompson looking to go past Mike Thompson. No relation there. No. They're even spelt differently. Big squealer tyres from someone, but that's streaming through. That certainly is Darren King. He must be an ace of getting it off the line, but it's Pete Evans, who won last time out at Brands Hatch, right with him.
Certainly is. So they go through now. As you said, Mike Thompson in 3rd, Sarah Thompson in 4th place as they all bunch themselves together in class 3, and then just off the tail we'll try and work out who's there in 5th position. But I think the leading 5 are the ones who have just pulled away in terms of the Porsche Boxster S's. So they're on their way now down towards Murray's, and Sarah Thompson is under pressure there from number 52. That's Darren Lebet. So here's the last one on the tail as they come up towards the completion of lap number 1. But the sound of these cars is incredible as they go through. Very, very quick, of course, across the start-finish line, but make a wonderful noise as well to these Porsches.
They do very much. It's those flat 12 engines, particularly I think of those front 911s where they're Rob Hollyman looking wide, seeing if he can actually do the switch back on Tim Bates. Again, 2 very, very closely matched cars and 2 drivers who I think have spent a lot of track time very close together.
Indeed, we've got black flag which has been held out as well, which is never a good sign, so that car will need to come into the pit lane. Can't see the number at the minute, but we'll try and get that onto the screen very shortly as the top 2 work their way down towards the left-hander at Agostini. That is, of course, still Tim Bates ahead of Rob Hollyman.
Car 66 is the black flag.
That's Vikram Sadira, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting.
We'll have to see if there's anything wrong with that car, or if he's done. It might be the start. That's the only thing he could have been pulled up on. But
I think he was the car who jumped and then reversed back. Yeah.
So that's pretty much a no-no, isn't it?
It is, but very inexperienced. First season of racing. But yeah, that is, as you say, a no-no.
And there we go, our cameraman picks up the number for us very nicely. So 66 is a black flag, just confirming that for us on the entry. So hopefully Vikram will be able to pick that up and pull into the pit lane to have a quick chat with the officials down there. But still, nothing to choose between the top two. Tim Bates and Rob Hollyman work their way down the back straight, across the line, less than 0.2 of a second there. So that's a close battle. Close as well in Class 3 at the minute, but it's still going to be, by the looks of things, Darren King that leads ahead of the number 22 machine of Peter Evans.
That's right, but I think it could be Sarah Thompson who's got past Mike Thompson. I think it's the yellow and red car in front of the yellow and black car. And Sarah looking very racy. Had a little look inside Pete Evans. It is Sarah in third. Fantastic.
Yeah.
She's certainly shown herself to be possibly not the strongest starter, but a very, very good overtaker.
Yeah, and we saw that in qualifying as well. The pace was definitely there for Sarah. So this is looking good for her. In third place at the minute in class, just behind Peter Evans, as Paul said. So they work their way now down towards Coram. Mike Thompson hasn't fallen too far adrift, although he now is under pressure from Darren Lebet in car number 52. But watch out for that yellow and red machine of Sarah Thompson, just briefly looking towards the inside of our second place man. But will Peter Evans get flustered? We'll have to wait and see as they head their way up towards the line. There are 20 minutes just over to go. We've got a bit of a stationary clock on the screen there for you, but 20 minutes just over still left to go within this race.
That's right, yeah, the clock really is ticking in reality for the drivers. But yeah, it's a fantastic performance. We're just settling down. Still very, very close at the front. Tim Bates has still got Rob Hollyman with him. But I think it's these boxes with the action, and still that black flag being held out, which we've now, thanks to the cameraman, confirmed actually is for Vikram Sudera.
Yeah, so he'll hopefully see that and pull in this time through. Here we go, back to the leaders, Tim Bates and that of Rob Hollyman. He hasn't shown any real kind of speed to get through yet, has he? We know he's got the speed, Rob, in qualifying, but when that transfers into a race, it can be completely different. Here comes Vikram into the pits, unfortunately. He's going to have a little bit of a word with the marshals there just to find out what he's done wrong. But it's a shame, isn't it? It's still learning, but few problems so far this year for Vikram.
It is, yeah. It's not been struck. He's had flashes. He's had fastest laps. He's had a podium. So yeah, he's a lovely guy to have about the place. Had a monstrous accident at Brands Hatch last time out, so he's out in a brand new car. So possibly first time back in a race after his huge role. He's got a little bit to think about, but yeah, let's hope he's set free. Although I think of black flag, he's not going to be set free, is he? I think that's his race done.
Unfortunately, I think that is for Vikram, but we'll see if we can get back out for race 2 a little bit later on. Right, this is the next battle we're going to focus on. That's Wayne Gregory on a spin, unfortunately, right in the path of someone else
Thompson.
There. It is.
I think she'd already lost a place or two, actually.
Yeah, because Wayne Gregory was down in 8th place in class, wasn't he? So
yeah.
Long way down for her.
Not quite sure what happened there, and that's Stephen Shaw who went off in avoidance.
So Stephen Shaw rejoins, Sarah Thompson rejoins, but unfortunately for both of them, they're now quite a way off the lead battle, which is a real shame because Sarah was going great there. So already on this lap, she'd had a problem because she went through across the line in that 3rd place. So yeah, something has gone awry for her, and of course more so now we're just getting involved in that car with Wayne Gregory. There goes the number 99 machine through shot there. That's Graham Hurd, so he's having a good battle as well as they turn away on towards the right-hander at Coram. But yeah, this is good stuff so far. But towards the front, what's happening with the likes of Class 3? Well, it's still King that leads. Darren King ahead of Peter Evans by 1.5 seconds, near enough, as the leaders work their way through the Wilson hairpin. And he's still just sitting there, isn't he, Rob Hollyman? He's not trying anything for a move just yet. So I just wonder, I know this is kind of Rob Hollyman was quicker in qualifying and did it by near enough 3.5 seconds. But do we reckon that Tim might have just been saving something for the race to surprise Rob?
I think very much so at the moment, because previously in his victories here with Rob, he's tended just to grab the lead as soon as he can and then try to drive off into the distance. So if he thinks he's got more pace, then he'd certainly be using it. Car 31 there rotating, and that's our newcomer, isn't it, O'Sullivan?
That's Brian Richardson, I think. 31, is that correct? Oh, okay, so we've got different from the programme for some reason. So that's changed since I had it, but we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, that's confusing, isn't it?
You know more than me, Paul, so we'll go with that. And it says O'Sullivan on the screen, so that's O'Sullivan. having a little bit of a rotation down at Murray's, but back on his way, down in 18th position. Right, this is the fight for the lead of Class 3 then, so very close together now between Darren King and Peter Evans as they work their way down towards Hamilton. It's got closer and closer over the last few laps, but where can Peter go for a move? He's not really close enough to do anything down towards Oggies. If you look at the back of Darren King, it just shows how inexperienced he is in terms of being a novice. He's in the first few rungs of his races and he's doing very well to lead this race.
That's right, still got the novice cross on the back, so hasn't got the requisite 6 signatures on his licence yet, and yeah, looking very unruffled at the front as well.
Certainly is. That sound again you can hear, more raindrops falling. It just seems to happen this stage of the race, isn't it? Halfway through, the rain starts to fall and it again now appears on the commentary box window. So it is now possibly going to start catching some drivers out, including Peter Evans, who goes for a rotation, half a rotation through Nelson. He's avoided by the 2 cars behind, which were Mike Thompson and Darren Lebet. So they've done well to avoid him as they try and rejoin, but Peter Evans stuck in a very precarious position there.
That's right, I'm not sure yet whether he actually got going. We'll have a little pan back across, but yeah, you're slightly out of sight of the people turning in, so not a happy place to be.
There he goes, he's back on his way, which is good. Rejoins behind Sarah Thompson, so they can rekindle that battle from earlier in the race as well. So this is going to be the situation in this race, and it doesn't sound like a lot of rain, does it? But it is catching drivers out, so it's very quick how it changes from one condition to another and how the drivers have to adapt to that as well. So oh, and Rob Hollyman's off as well, the man in 2nd place. I think that's more of a mechanical issue rather than any, yeah, he's going to pull off here, so that's not a spin, is it? No,
that's deliberate. That's putting the car into it's like the lovely phrase, a place of safety. So maybe the fact he didn't quite have that pace was an issue.
What times has he been doing? Rob Hollyman, 2:10.7. He was the quickest man.
Fastest race lap, yeah.
Yeah, so he was quicker than that in qualifying, which is fair enough. But yeah, he's on par with Tim Bates, but at least Tim Bates now all on his own, which is a real shame because we were looking forward to that battle between him and Rob Hollyman, and that was very close indeed already. Now Tim Bates has over 17 seconds in hand over James Neal, who sits there in now the new 2nd place at the end of this lap. But Tim Bates can effectively just back off the pace a little bit now. He doesn't have to push that car too hard.
No, and we cut back to our Class 2, our Boxster Cup leader, Darren King, who had 2.2 seconds over Mike Thompson across the line, but nothing like that at all. In fact, he did get out that corner a lot better, but Mike Thompson is reeling him in. Mike, this championship leader, Mr. Consistent, lots of 2nd places, never ever in 3 seasons taken a race win, so maybe he can sniff that first elusive win.
This is his moment, isn't it? This is as close as it's possibly been so far this year. So all over the back of Darren King, he now goes. So Darren King probably just been a little bit tentative in this weather, not too comfortable or confident in the car being a novice. But Mike Thompson, a few seasons now in this championship, tries to get onto the tail of Darren King as they work their way down towards Brundle and Nelson. Does he dive? He thinks about it. I don't think it's quite close enough yet to make the move. So he goes back into line. He'll be sensible. He'll sit there for the time being and just see what unfolds ahead of him. But great gap he's brought down here has Mike Thompson, and with him now is not too far back. I think that's the number 52 machine of Darren Lebet, so it's going to be a 3-way fight for the race lead by the looks of it.
That's right, very much. Darren Lebet, actually a customer of Darren King. Mike Thompson really thought about ducking on the inside. I think moving to the inside as you enter Coram is a very brave move, but those top 3 together. Darren Lebet actually won the opening race of the season, which I think was actually only his 2nd ever motor race.
Oh, look to the inside there briefly from Darren Lebet, and Mike Thompson was almost caught out there, but you can just see how much Darren King is slowing the field down, because all of a sudden Darren Lebet was there with them without any hesitation. So Darren King has backed Mike Thompson up. I think this might be his ploy now, because he's now pulled away by a good, what is it, half a second or so, but Darren King on his way. Looks a bit more comfortable up towards Rich's on this occasion, but don't put it past Mike Thompson, closing that gap right down once again as they all work their way through Richie's up towards the Wilson hairpin, and it's going to be the top 3 as the order it was across the line. Darren King, Mike Thompson and Darren Lebet as they all run very wide, especially Mike Thompson. He leaves the door way open for Darren Lebet to squeeze through, and that now changes 2nd place within the class as well.
That's right, and so that was a huge offer by Mike Thompson, wasn't it, of here's the inside, which Darren Lebet quite gleefully took. Now it's now Darren King's going to have this slight issue now, where it's one of his unique Porsche customers coming, but Mike Thompson's fought back and he's got the inside, and that's going to put him on the inside as they get down to Agostini.
Mike Thompson's quick out the corners, that's what I've noticed so far, so he gets good acceleration on the exit of the corner, so he again should be able to keep this place now away from Darren Lebet, which he does. So yeah, he's clear of the third place man for now as they work their way down towards the left-hander at Hamilton. Now it's about closing that gap back down on the race leader, which is Darren King in this number 17 machine at the minute. But Darren coming here this weekend, third within the championship, and of course one of those race victories to his name as well at Brands Hatch.
That's right, very much so. And as I say, his stress levels must have reduced hugely from the issues they had in qualifying when the car just wouldn't fire and he missed part of the session. So to go from when he actually genuinely thought he wasn't going to start the session, actually make it out racing today. And yeah, he's eased away down that straight, hasn't he? This is definitely a case of cars being stronger in some parts of the circuit than others.
Certainly is. So the gaps start to open up once again. I think the rain has briefly stopped once more, so that could be aiding the confidence for Darren King once again. So he's looking all right. Here comes Peter Evans, carving his way through the field, as trying to look to the inside there was the 600 machine, which is Simon Ruffle-Ward. Also in the mix there is Graham Hurd. So Peter Evans has made a bit more progress, hasn't he, than Sarah Thompson, because Sarah's down in 10th place in class, and I think Peter Evans already back up into about 6th or 7th now.
That's right, two who actually dropped out the lead group earlier on in the race, so a little bit of fight back going on, certainly from Pete Evans. Stephen Shaw going slightly wide there as they go through the bomb hole. Sarah actually going wide and seeing if she can actually get past that 76 car of Faye Noble Evans, so that's our two lady racers together.
Yeah, fighting hard, which is nice to see. So Sarah Thompson gets the bet of Faye. Unfortunately, Perry Darlin has got some problems there, because he's also pulled that car off to a place of safety. So the number 81 machine looking to take no further part within this race as well, with about 10.5 minutes to go. As here we go, Sarah Thompson looking for another place up towards Richie's corner. She's been very assertive now, isn't she, on her way through the field, which is nice to see. So
that's it, two in less than a half a lap, essentially, going past Simon Ruffle-Ward there for another position. So that should actually take it to 10th overall, I think.
And now she's trying to work her magic on the next car, which is Graham Hurd. So let's see if she can get that one done as well. And then just up the road, Peter Evans. And if you can get on the tail of Peter Evans, you might be able to work your way very nicely through and catch up with the leading group once again. But they lost quite a bit of time, didn't they, through that spin and the problems they've had earlier in the race. But Sarah now working her magic as they head along the short straight down towards Agostini. I think she could be on for the move here at Graham Hurd, who goes defensive in towards Agostini. Can Sarah get the cut back? Well, Graham runs slightly wide. I don't know if there's enough of a room there to get a Porsche through. Not quite, but Sarah Thompson now definitely hustling the back of Graham Hurd. But you can see how much time they've lost already to Peter Evans up the road.
It is. Now, Sarah's father told me just before the race that they'd actually committed to a full dry setup. So that's a very stiff car. So possibly now the track's drying again and the rain has stopped. Suddenly she's got a car again that she can race. It might have been just a bit of a handful when it was slippery. Yeah, working in her favour once more, but for now stuck behind Graham Hurd as they work their way on towards the Bentley Straight once more. She should get a nice little tow here, down there, in towards Brundle and Nelson, as she feints towards the left-hand side, which thankfully is the inside. Peter Evans was trying to make a move there as well on Wayne Gregory just up the road, and I think he might just have got that done. Let's have a look. No, not quite. So Wayne Gregory standing his ground as well. Evans runs a little bit wide on the corner, but Sarah Thompson is through in the background, so she now works her way up into 8th place ahead of the car of Simon Ruffle-Ward. That's right, fantastic recovery drive. I just see how much time there is. The next car's unfortunately quite a way up the road for Sarah. Yeah, so last time through it was about 3 seconds by the looks of it, so we'll get an accurate look on that gap this time round as Peter Evans runs a little bit wide through the corner of Murray's there, but now looking to try and do some magic on the back of Wayne Gregory. He's not quite close enough there though, so Wayne Gregory's got the power up the straight. Uphill they go in towards Richie's corner, come over the slight brow there as they turn in towards Richie's. Windscreen wiper's still going, but that could have just been left on from the earlier situation, so I don't think there's too much rain to worry about now. The gap between Peter Evans and Sarah Thompson that time through was 3.9 seconds. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if Sarah has anything left in the tank to try and close down in on Peter Evans. That's right, still good lap times from Sarah despite the fact she overtook 2 cars on that lap. So great comeback drive, Pete Evans now. He's looking very, very racy, isn't he? He's he did have that race ready for him to take until he made that mistake. These are the leaders still, by the way, so that's Darren King and also the number 6 machine right behind of Mike Thompson. Darren Lebet is also with them as well. So 1, 2, 3 go through Agostini. This is 4th place, which is the 38 machine of Eric Bridges. And then the 5th place fight, Wayne Gregory and Peter Evans. Still not through yet, but let's see if he gets a good run. He goes to the inside
down towards Hamilton, but Wayne has that one covered again. Let's see what he can do in towards Oggies. He's looking really pacey now, is Peter, but he just needs to place that car in the right position, not be too aggressive, but just enough to get himself through and then challenge the next car up the road.
Wayne Gregory really isn't going to give that place away easily, though, is he? We're actually now looking at the leaders coming towards us. Mike Thompson tucked up right behind Darren King. For a second you couldn't even see his car, and he's going to try and pop out and see if he can actually do it on the brakes. But Darren comes across, covers it, and brakes, I think, just that fraction later, judging by how that gap went out again.
Yeah, certainly is. So Darren King holds on for now. Just under 7 minutes of this race to go. Darren Lebet in the background has just lost out briefly now to the top two. So probably not a wise, too bad a move actually, just to sit there and see what happens with the top two, because it's getting quite feisty up front now as Mike Thompson almost runs into the back of Darren King as they work their way in towards Coram. Slightly different lines there, a bit wider for the man in second place, but Darren King, of course, having just to go a little bit more defensive into these corners now because Mike Thompson is so close. And unfortunately, Brian O'Sullivan, has gone off again down at Agostini.
That's right, yeah, that's got a few people out down there today. I think maybe it's still staying just a little bit more slippery than the rest of the circuit, but that lead group, Mike Thompson is, he's putting his car one side and the other. He's making his intentions clear. Unfortunately, that Sarah Thompson looks like she's gone off. What
a shame. I think that's down towards, is that Murray's, I think, the final corner. So again, she's just been caught out possibly on the brakes. You kind of overrun the corner if you brake a little bit too late. You can go straight on there. So what a shame for Sarah. A race which was looking so good, wasn't it, after qualifying on pole, running inside the top 3 places, but all of a sudden it's just come undone. But luckily for her, she's got another race to try and make pay for what's been so far an okayish day, but she'll want a little bit of a better result from this one if she can. Meantime, back to the leaders, still King ahead of Thompson and Lebet, and again Mike Thompson almost glued now to the back of the race leader.
That's right, Mike Thompson saying, numerous second places, never taken the win, but this is one of the rare occasions when he's actually been able to get to the circuit the day before to join in the test session. So as he said it, he felt he was hitting the ground running today rather than trying to catch up with everybody. So it's interesting to see if he can actually just get that final position away from Darren King, but I've yet to see Darren put that car out of place whatsoever. Fantastic driving from the relatively inexperienced man.
There's Sarah into the pit lane, so her problems have led to her visit in the pit lane for the team. Just have a quick look over, make sure there's nothing too serious with that, and if she does rejoin, she will be probably a lap down, but she'll get some good running towards the end for the later race as King and Thompson work their way on towards the back straight once more. Just under 5 minutes to go, so Tim Bates is very shortly to come through. He's still leading, by the way, just to let you know, where Tim Bates goes through onto lap number 10, and he should, I reckon, squeeze 3 more laps in, I reckon, with the time we have left.
That's right, Mike Thompson again, this very quick on this part of the circuit. He's very determined, but they're now just barely a car's length between them as they're coming through the bomb hole, and then they're going to be doing that endless right turn of Coram.
Certainly are. So Mike Thompson feints one way, then the other. He goes back to the inside in towards Coram, but there is no gap to squeeze through just yet. If he can keep this pressure on, surely at some stage Darren King's going to be making a mistake as Lebet gets closer in third position as well. So we once again, concertina, the top 3 in Class 3 back together. So it's Darren King that leads. Mike Thompson still sits there in the yellow and black car in second, and the white car behind of Darren Lebet comes onto the tail as well. So lots happening with Class 3. There is your race leader overall, by the way, in the 911 challenge. That is Tim Bates. And to be fair, that gap has come down between second as Lebet goes for the inside line on Mike Thompson. Is that going to work at Richie's corner? Oh, I don't know. He's not quite going to have the drag, I don't think, up towards the Wilson hairpin, because he goes very defensive, does Mike Thompson. He allows Darren Lebet to go to the outside line, so all of that was almost done, but Mike Thompson, with that acceleration, got back to the inside line, kept him behind.
Exactly, as you said a few laps ago, Matt, he's very good at getting out the corners, Mike Thompson, and carrying that speed out through the corner, because he actually had enough room there to switch sides of the track. He was caught on the outside, and yet managed to get to the inside to defend as they got to Wilson.
You've got to be confident to do that as well. You've got to make sure the car behind is not alongside you, because in quite a few incidents you do that and you make contact with the car that's trying to get past. So good awareness there from Mike Thompson not to make contact with Darren Lebet behind. Here comes the ever-charging Peter Evans through the field now, because he's onto the tail of Eric Bridges, isn't he? So we've got the 3 for the lead, we've got 3 for 4th place. This is another close battle in the race, and what can Peter Evans do? We know he's been quick, but he just needs to find that gap to squeeze his way through.
He is, yeah. He's one of these drivers that has an eventful race, isn't he? He's going to certainly have plenty to talk about afterwards, but yeah, he's putting his car one side and then the other, putting Eric Bridges under a lot of pressure, and now it looks like he's got alongside him. He's trying the long way round the outside.
Yeah, and what have they got in terms of straight line speed? Well, we'll find out very shortly. Wayne Gregory comes into the mix as well, so here's the third car in this battle. It's almost going to be 3 wide as we head down towards the Brundle and Nelson sequence of corners. They are your leaders in Class 3. Darren King still under pressure from Mike Thompson. No let off just yet between those two, as again Mike Thompson looks for the inside line, but behind Eric Bridges just keeping Peter Evans at bay, and Wayne Gregory now coming back into the mix as well. So Peter Evans did find his way past Wayne Gregory, but Wayne Gregory is determined to get back up into that 5th place now.
Very, very much so. Suddenly, I think Pete Evans is he's got the car he's focusing on in front, but he's got someone to worry about, and his mirror's just behind him. Again, this League 3, Mike Thompson just can't quite get in the position to put a serious challenge in on Darren King.
Can't at the minute. There go the next 3 through the picture. Eric Bridges, Peter Evans, and I think Wayne Gregory on that occasion gets a better run out of the corner. So up towards the line they now go. Peter Evans is looking towards the outside. Wayne Gregory to the inside, and they're going to run side by side up towards the first corner. Darren Lebet back down the inside of Mike Thompson as well for 2nd place. He's tried this before. It didn't work on that occasion. It doesn't work on this occasion, but what happens behind Peter Evans has been passed, because he's got the job done, hasn't he? Wayne Gregory back up into 4th place. This is getting very, very feisty, but we are enjoying it because they're all keeping it very clean indeed.
Very, very much so. I've seen no contact at all, but yeah, Darren King under all this pressure in just what it has to be his 5th motor race, and yeah, he yet to put a wheel wrong as far as I can see. Mike Thompson's looked one side, he's looked the other, and he's been particularly racy down the straight, but each time Darren King's been out of position his car and not had a clean move.
Here he goes once again, Mike Thompson looking all over the back of Darren King. He goes inside, he goes outside, but none of those are ways through at the minute for the man who's finished in the top 3 places on every race so far, but yet to take a win has Mike Thompson. So he has got a few more corners to go. I think Tim Bates is going to come through to get one more lap in. It's going to be close, but I think we've just got time to get another lap in, and for these guys and girls who we see in Class 3, they'll get an extra lap as well, so that's beneficial for us because we get to see some more great racing. As Tim Bates comes up towards the line, he will now head on to the last lap as the fight for Class 3 continues between the 3 contenders of Darren King, Mike Thompson, and of course down there behind them as well, Darren Lebet.
That's right. So far, lap after lap, Mike Thompson then pops out, looks to see if the inside, looks to see if he can brake later than Darren King, but Darren holds his nerve and brakes and brakes and brakes, and in this situation actually slightly blocked Mike Thompson, which brought Darren Lebet back into play yet again. These 3 barely, and a fantastic exit, and Mike Thompson's actually got alongside as they get to the bomb hole. That's a brave place to be, but I think he actually had a couple of wheels on the grass, but that's fired Darren King wide. I don't think there was contact. I think Darren just went wide there.
I think he was trying to leave his braking as late as possible. With that, Mike Thompson was alongside. He then missed his braking point, and off the track he goes wide. So finally, Mike Thompson has found a way through. So this could be the moment he gets his first win in the Porsche Boxster S category. He's got a lap still to go. Darren King will be determined to try and close the gap down and try and move up from 3rd position. But of course, he's got work now to do to try and catch up firstly with Darren Lebet in 2nd as they head on to their last lap. Peter Evans actually is not too far adrift of them, along with Wayne Gregory and also Eric Bridges. So it can still change with these 6 cars as they work their way now in towards Ritchie's for the final time. This has been a really, really good fight from start to finish, and it's not quite over yet as Tim Bates works his way on this final lap. I think he's almost towards the end of it, whilst the Class 3 cars work their way in towards Wilson. Eric Bridges runs wide. That leaves the door open now for the 53 machine of Wayne Gregory to try and squeeze through, but unluckily for him, he'll have the outside line down towards Palmer.
It is very much. Dives down to the inside as well, though. He's not having the outside. It's the inside that he wants, and he couldn't quite get his nose alongside that other car of Eric Bridges.
Yeah, no takers for the outside on that occasion. They all wanted to be on the inside, which is fair enough, especially on this last lap, which we are now on to as they continue their fight down towards the left-hander of Agostini. It's Wayne Gregory there in the middle of that 4th place sandwich, and just up the road is Darren Lebet in the middle of the lead-in sandwich as Tim Bates comes in towards the final corner, and it's going to be 3 out of 3 for Tim Bates this year in the 911 Challenge. He works his way up towards the line. He's not going to be winning by a huge margin, but he wins comfortably, I think it's fair to say. So Tim Bates takes the checker flag in the 911 Challenge. 2nd place should go the way of James Neal, who would close that gap down to around about 8 seconds in the end. So through he comes in 2nd, and for 3rd place in this new car for Stuart Jeffcoate, the Porsche 993. He should come through in third position. But the question is, can Mike Thompson hold on to the lead and pick up his first win in Class 3 of the Porsche Championship? We'll find out shortly, because we are moments away from seeing that. Here he comes down towards the right-hander of the bomb hole. He's got a nice buffer up the road from the man behind, which is that of Darren Lebet. But he's now just got to make sure there's no slippery stuff into those last couple of corners, which I don't think there are. I think the rain has dispersed and gone away for now. But Mike Thompson, he's tried many occasions so far this year, but this should be job done for the number 6 machine. He takes a little bit extra curb on the way through Murray's. He heads up now towards the line, and let's see how excited Mike Thompson is going to be, because the checker flag is at the ready, and he's a winner for the first time in Class 3.
Fantastic performance. Delighted for Mike, because he's a lovely guy and he's always been on that second place. So it must be so exciting to take your first win after all of that. And it's taken him a few seasons, but he's been so consistent and so deserved. So extends his Boxster Cup Championship lead.
He won't want to stop at the end of this race, will he? He want to carry on.
Well, I was thinking just now, actually, that he was the one person who wanted the flag to come out the moment the clock got to 0, wasn't he, really?
Indeed. Well done to Mike Thompson. He picks up victory then in Class 3. Second place goes the way of number 52, which is Darren Lebet. So a good result there for Darren, who has already been a winner this year so far. But again, helps him out in the championship, keeps him as close as he possibly can do to Mike Thompson, who extends that championship lead after this fifth round of the season. Behind them in third place is going to be Darren King, a story of what could have been for Darren after that move at the bomb hole, but Darren comes through third place in class, just ahead of Wayne Gregory. Eric Bridges in fifth. Sixth place then for Peter Evans. Seventh place for the number 76 machine of Faye Noble Evans. Great result for her. Just ahead of number 49, which is that of Stephen Shaw. He finishes 11th place overall and 8th within the class. So there we go. That is 911 Challenge and Porsche Classic Boxster Cup done for now. We enjoyed that, and again, Paul, we look forward to that second race a little bit later on.
Very much so, actually. Yeah, more to come from the Porsches. It's been a busy morning, actually, into the early afternoon for us, but we've got more to come. I'll get the stories once more, like same as after the Porsche Club Championship, just to see who's got what to say and what happened to who, the things that we didn't see or didn't quite understand, particularly try and find out what happened to Rob Hollyman. Let's hoping that's not putting him out for the day, and it's just something that can be fixed on that car before we have that second race at the end of the day.
Indeed, thanks very much, Paul. We'll let you get off and get those stories from the drivers as always, but Paul will be back with us a little bit later on for, of course, the Porsche Club Championship and, of course, the second race for the 911 Challenge and the Boxster Cup as well. Thanks very much to Paul Jerd. Very shortly, we'll be hearing from, I should say, our race winner, which is Tim Bates, on his way back into the pit lane, and hopefully we'll have a quick word with some of our Class 3 podium finishers as well, because that was a very eventful race there, which saw Mike Thompson pick up his first ever win in the Boxster Cup class. So well done to him. I'm sure he's going to be with a big smile on his face, and hopefully we'll have a lot to hear from him as well. So we look forward to that very shortly, because Mark Werrell is down there just trying to catch up with the drivers as best as he can. In the meantime, we'll look forward to what's still to come here today at Snetterton, because we've got one more race before the lunch break, and that's going to be for the Toyo Tyres Racing Saloons. We've got a nice healthy contingent of cars for that one here this weekend, which is great to see. Then we'll be into a lunch break around about 1:30, and then we're back this afternoon 2:20 with 6 races on the agenda to look forward to. So don't go anywhere. Keep with us here at Snetterton, and of course on the live stream. We are of course with you for just today, not tomorrow unfortunately, but there is racing down here at Snetterton. If you want to come and join us for tomorrow with some more championships and series joining us on day 2, but we've got the small matter of day 1 to get through before that, and we've seen some really good racing so far, close racing, and different winners for the first time this year as well. One of those being, as we said, Mike Thompson, who is down there somewhere. He's just working his way slowly back into the pit lane with the other 911 Challenge cars. There we can see the number 44 machine of Stuart Jeffcoate, as we mentioned, new car for him for this weekend. So just getting a few testing miles under his belt before he heads back to his normal series, but good to see him coming home in third position, just behind the car of James Neal, which will be handed over to Neil Harvey for race number 2. So James is the owner, Neil effectively is a mechanic and the man who looks after the car and has done quite a bit of work on it, but Neil gets the chance to drive that car in race number 2 a little bit later on, so he comes home in a very happy second position in that Porsche 964. In the end, he was 8.6 seconds adrift of Tim Bates as the race winner for what's going to be the third time this year. As we said, can he make it 4 wins out of 4? We'll find out a little bit later on with the Porsche 911 Challenge and Boxster Cup, that final race just after 4:30 this afternoon. So that's what we've got coming up for you here at Snetterton. So one more race on the way. The cars will be lining up onto the grid very shortly. The Toyo Tyres Racing Saloons, a little bit of a lesser distance for them, 15 minutes, so it's going to be short and sweet, and hopefully we'll get that one done before any more rain falls here today, because it is one of those days after the warm temperatures of yesterday, things now just starting to cool down, a few thunderstorms possibly within the area, and these sporadic showers as well, which are just hovering over the circuit. It's not too bad out there, quite pleasant today, not too much wind either, but yeah, it's just playing with the drivers, this rain. Just don't know where the grip is and what tyres to go for, but luckily for the drivers we've just seen, they were all on treaded Pirelli tyres, so they wouldn't have had to worry too much about the conditions as we went through. There's Eric Bridges, he's happy, he's just trying to work out where he needs to go, but gets himself home inside the top 5 places of the Class 3. And there's Peter Evans after his spin, of course, earlier on in the race, so he did well to recover back to 6th position. There's Faye Noble-Evans, first of our lady racers home in that race, after Sarah Thompson qualified her car on pole position. But Sarah was a finisher, although down in 15th place overall. So Sarah, unfortunately, was looking good after qualifying, but things didn't quite go away in the end for that one. So she is hoping for better things in race 2. But for now, we can find out more from the drivers with Mark.
We're going to chat to the winners of the respective classes this time. So Tim Bates is already out of the race-winning car. Big smile on Tim's face because Tim, that's another win in the 911 Challenge. Rob Hollyman looked to have the pace in qualifying, but his car gave him issues.
Yeah, he was all over me. I got a real good start, got away, and I thought, well, I'll keep him honest for as many laps as I can. And so we was having some really good battles. I had to do some real defending, but he got a lot of power up the straights, and then I get away from him in the wiggly bits. But we had a great battle, and it made it worthwhile. We came into the bomb hole, and there was it was like damp and a bit of wet come down over the back, so I was all over the place. I nearly lost the car, and Rob was all over the back of me, and then he was right on my tail then, and then he dropped back. So I don't know what's happened to him, but it's really sad that he had to drop out, because we'd have probably battled on for a few more. It was good.
Well, fingers crossed he's back out later on. Be good to see the two of you having that squabble again.
Yes, it would. Fantastic. Really enjoyed that.
Well done on the win.
Thank you.
There we go, so that's our overall race winner. We're going to grab a quick word also with the man who secured the top honours in Class 3. So we're going to grab a quick word with Mike Thompson. Mike will be a happy guy because congratulations, Mike, your first win in the Porsche Club, and now that makes it 5 different winners out of the first 5 races.
It is, yeah. It's pretty surreal, to be fair. I felt like crying over the line. I've been pushing to try and get a first for the past 2 years, and I'm always second or third, and just managed to put the move on Darren on the last, I think, second to last lap or something, and just get past him and maintain it without passing out.
Well, you know the old saying is that the first one is always the hardest. Well, you've done that when you've got that monkey off your back now, and you can look forward to the second race later on.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope to put some good results in the second one as well. But for now, I'm just overwhelmed with the first players. I just can't believe it.
Well, congratulations on the win, and congratulations on extending your championship lead in Class 3.
Thank you very much.